Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Mr. Fuller.
Here.
Ms. Hook. Here. Mr. Mackey.
Here.
Ms. Steeler. Here. Ms. Weaver. Here. Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Good. I'll take
I got that.
motion on resolution 2025-69 to retire into executive session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the master of arms, please seal the door.
Seal the door.
Gonna nail that from the inside. Those watching online, we're about to mute, turn off our camera. The regular public portion of the meeting will resume at approximately 7 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June meeting of the Hopewell Borough Council. Those of you in person and online or watching on YouTube after the fact, council met at 6 o'clock for executive session. And if you're watching online, you just watch an hour of a slide that said we were in executive session, but we're back now with the public portion of our meeting. Resuming with item 5 here at about 7 p.m. We had a report of the Director of Public Works and Water and Sewers. If anyone has any questions for our administrator on that before we get to our next item, that'll be the time. All right. With that, at every meeting for the past year plus, we have been including an update on the potential or now the proposed sale of our water system. I want to thank everyone who came out last week and everyone who participated in putting the program together on the 29th for the first of a series of information sessions. The first one was about a rate analysis, kind of retrospectively. The next session will be on July 17th, and that will start looking forward, both about a topic that we're going to briefly introduce tonight, but something that was called debt defeasance, but ultimately, if our community decides to sell the water system, we have some choices as a community about what to do with the funds. And for the most part, it is required that we pay off debt with that. So we'll that will be a part of it, as well as a forward-looking analysis about how New Jersey American, the proposed purchaser, and the borough would both deal with capital improvements to our water system. Tonight on our agenda, there are 2 pieces. One, our debt defeasance plan, which essentially says that if we got the funds, we would use it to pay off debt. And then second, the introduction, and then public hearing on this ordinance will be next month at our July meeting. And I'm noting that our July meeting will not be the day before the 4th of July. We scheduled meeting here to be that next week to avoid the 4th of July week. So July 10th will be the public hearing on an ordinance to send the question to the county clerk so that we can be ready in November to have the ballot question on the November election about whether voters in the borough, yes or no, want to sell the water system. Any other updates for the good of the order for the water system? No? Thanks so much.
Can I just say one thing? The original resolution provided to council, resolution for the defeasance plan did not have Exhibit A attached, and Reggie just gave you Exhibit A. It's just all the numbers that correspond with what was discussed, just so when it comes time to vote, that Exhibit A is part of the resolution.
Okay.
Do you want to remind everyone about July 17th? I'm so sorry.
I'll remind, it is a thing worth repeating. So we in trying to present information about this choice that our community has, we learned that there's only so much that really anyone can absorb in one night. So we're going to try to break it down into bite-sized chunks. The first was last week, and then July 17th, we will be doing the second installment. And the video If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, it's already up from last week, so if you missed the meeting, you can watch the video already.
And the slides are also on the website.
I'm gonna say yes, but I will confirm that at the end of the meeting. I believe so, but I don't remember if I did or not, to be totally honest with you. Before we get to the presentation on some potential renovations to our DPW, we do Public Works building, and we have our architect here tonight. We do have some volunteers from Moms Demand Action here. There's a proclamation this evening for Wear Orange. It went from a month to I guess a couple of days that is being recognized for gun violence prevention. And we have a proclamation here tonight in honor of that, amongst a few other proclamations. But I would like to perhaps just go out of order, and so in respect for their time, and thank you for coming. If they'd like to come up and do a photo before the happy to have you. Certainly anyone who's interested or involved in that cause, please feel free to join up. Well, and if you'd like to,
Oh, sorry.
and so if you guys would like to say a few words too, but certainly be honored to have you.
We appreciate you're all wearing orange.
Yeah.
For the things
Thank you
closer.
very
We're red.
I'm Sue Redco, and I am a borough resident. And this is Marcia O'Connell, and we are the community outreach leads for the Mercer County chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. And so we do advocacy year round, and we're supportive. We have a lot of community members throughout the county, and especially in Trenton, where the gun violence is most prevalent in our county. And so Wear Orange is a time to honor. It was first started in 2013 with Hadiah Pendleton, who had performed at one of President Obama's inaugurations and then was tragically killed by gun violence in Chicago. And her friends got together and used the color orange, which was one of her favorite, and also obviously it's what hunters wear to signal not to shoot. And so it's become a nationwide thing the first weekend in June to recognize the gun violence prevention movement, to recognize victims and also survivors, communities, family members, friends of the victims of gun violence. And so we appreciate this proclamation. They are taking place around the country and even here in Mercer County. There'll be a big celebration on Saturday in Trenton, and it always falls on the same weekend. Well, this weekend it won't be the townwide yard sale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think Reggie put some flyers in the back for
Okay.
that, if anybody wants to grab them.
Great. So it's really like a mini carnival, and it's in Trenton and Cadwalader Park, and there will be speaker, the Attorney General will be there, mayors from several towns and other elected officials, in addition to community partners, tabling, and groups, from all around the county. So we really appreciate that you continue to support these efforts and raise awareness, because gun violence actually touches so many of us in different ways. So appreciate that support and the proclamation, and we'll be glad if we can have a picture. That would be.
Please come on up. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I think so. Yeah.
It's probably, you'll be more visible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just,
So I need one of those. That'd be great.
I had to see both the camera. Like, what do these?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and a last one.
It might be better if they get behind the days.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we move the?
No. Yeah. Move my camera.
I will.
Don't sort of.
Just keep them.
Oh, yeah, what, you wanna come up front?
Yeah, we can all get work on.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Good job.
There you go. Nice.
Thank you.
Sherry, okay, perfect. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, smile. Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. All right, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda, I want to welcome our architect, Ryan Resinger, up to the front. The buildings committee and council has been working on for some time renovations to our borough public works, I'll call it facility that is being kind for reasons that you will see in a minute. Ryan very much appreciated the work on it. I want to thank the building committee. Also thank former council president Sky Morehouse and advocating for this project over the years, and very much looking forward to seeing the next steps for a place that is appropriate, yet still quite humble, frankly, for our team. I think everyone up here in our community recognizes the outstanding work that these guys do for our community, and very much looking forward for an appropriate place for them to call home. So with that,
And also Bob Brightly, our engineer,
thank
putting
you.
together our,
Yes,
our stormwater and our grading plan, and, he did a great job, as did Ronnie on this, so I think we have an excellent concept.
And 1 second, Ryan, I'm gonna share my screen for those of you watching online. And so I think the people online are now seeing what people here in the room see. So with that, Ryan, you want to introduce yourself?
Okay.
It's not a planning board hearing, but so I won't ask you to give your credentials fully, but
Well,
you are an
you
expert here. That's
yeah.
right. But feel free to give a bit of your background. And I know you've done, many people in our community know you professionally, but you've done a lot of other important work in town for the borough. Maybe start a bit with that, because you've got a pretty amazing history of things that have been fantastic for this town.
Well, thank you, Ryan. My name's Ronnie Bregenzer. I've been an architect with my own small firm since 1991. Worked generally in the Mercer County area throughout New Jersey. Buildings that I've done in the borough include the one we are sitting in. Also did the bandstand in the park, did the Calvary Baptist steeple, and both of the little well buildings, which I helped somehow survive with what's going on. And a few other things throughout town as well, private residences and such. So I'm always happy to work in Hopewell. And now we're working on the Hopewell DPW with some ideas about additions, alterations, and some, let's say, sorely needed new buildings. We will start with the first slide, is just showing folks where we are. This is an overview. The blue box is the DPW. It's off Burton Avenue, for those of you who don't know where it is. The big field in the back, I believe, is Joe Ruggieri's farm still. And we'll move to the next one. There's a closer view aerial of the DPW. The single entrance is off Burton Avenue. You drive between the two buildings, left and right there to the back. You can see an asphalt maintenance yard with a metal building, salt building, and the two sort of gray black pieces on the right are the cisterns where the water used to be. Next slide. So if you haven't been to the DPW, just thought we'd bring some slides so you could get an idea of what is there. This is a street view looking from Burton Avenue, and we call it building 1 on the left, building 2 on the right. One is a garage. The building on the left is garage with the facilities for the guys in there, a shower, bathroom, sort of a place to eat. And the second one is what we call the water building, where Dave has lots of his materials, and also sort of his offices in there as well. Both buildings are probably dating back to we think the 20s, somewhere in that neighborhood. And then next slide. There's a close-up of them. There's plate roofs. They're an interesting architectural block. Both are needed of repair, to say the least. And next slide. This is as we move back to the DPW towards the back, towards Ruggieri's open area. This is the existing metal building and the salt shed that they use now, which is to the left. And if you see that orange curtain there, that's how they keep the salt in. That's not quite up to code, but that's what the guys work with now. On the right, you see the cistern. Next one.
And
please.
just before we go, but not only not just up the coast, but unfortunately, one of the drivers of this, as the state changed the stormwater regulations and we got changed to a different tier, the need for a salt enclosure was mandated by DEP. And while that maybe is unacceptable in any respect, what we're looking at, the new enclosure rules are a mandate from Trent.
Yes, absolutely. Here's the side of the metal building and the, salt shed, as we call it. You can see those braces, that's actually holding up the side of that building. A lot of these buildings are in pretty sad shape. This one has leaks in the roofs. It's not quite large enough for their use. The salt is especially too small. So we're proposing that these be removed. But next slide, we'll talk more about that. This is just a general view of the maintenance yard and looking towards the cisterns. And then again, if you're not familiar, these are the cisterns no longer in use. They're very large concrete boxes basically, and about 16 inches thick of concrete, and they're just there now. And here's looking back to Burton Avenue again, seeing the back of the two buildings and the various equipment that the guys have in the yard. Here's our site plan diagram of what we propose to do. So you can see the gray is the entrance in. To the right are parking spaces, with the help of our civil, Bob Brightly, and the borough engineer also. So we have an ADA parking space, and then you can walk across and follow that little sidewalk, and you'll go into what is now the addition. Is the dark brown pieces are an addition to the existing building. There'll be an entry and a garage. The green, the bright green, is a rain garden. We do require stormwater management. We are under the allowable impervious for the borough, but we are adding about roughly 4,200 square feet of impervious coverage. So there'll be at least one rain garden here in the front, most likely two in the back behind the other brown boxes that we'll talk about in a minute. And if we need to, maybe a storage tank or something for stormwater management. These are all things that we have to work out as we move ahead. Too early to nail those down right now.
But the borough will ensure that we are compliant with all the stormwater.
Yeah, we will be compliant.
We're not giving ourselves any waivers.
Yes, and speaking of that, it's hard to see, but there's a little dotted line around these buildings, that around the site. That is the site setbacks. There's 40 foot on the side, 10, I think it's 10 on one side, 15 on the other. And in the back, we are compliant with all our setbacks. All our buildings are compliant with height. We're compliant with the FAR ratio. So we're complying with everything the borough asks. The two buildings as we move to the back, the one straight down the driveway, the skinnier one, that one is our proposed salt building. And to the left of that is a proposed metal building, which would be a 3 bay garage for storage of all the equipment you saw in that yard. And off to the side there is trash and recycling. In this scheme, the cisterns are still with us. We've looked at before crushing them and putting them into the ground. It's a fair amount of money to do that, so you could do it in the future. Nothing stops you from doing that. But for right now, it made more sense probably to take that money and put it into a building that's useful right now. And then we'll move to the next one, Ryan.
I promise I will. There we go.
Okay, so if we zoom in a little, these are the building to the right is the water building. We are not proposing any changes to the water building. It is partly in a flood area, so we really don't want to put much money into that. We'd repair the roof, keep it in decent condition that they could use it as storage. The building on the left here, we call this building number 1, is currently the garage, but we're changing the garage space into the 2 offices that you see, the tan pieces. the darker brown is a storage area with, parts storage for the guys. The blue is the big garage. This would be their service garage where they can lift vehicles up to work on them. The green in the middle is the entry, also where their, table would be to meet with people, to work, to have lunch. And the back yellow is, their kitchenette, a locker room, a single toilet room, and a single shower changing room. So they're all separate facilities with lockable doors, in case we have a female DPW person someday. And if this is not asking a lot, if you have ever been inside the current facilities, it's pretty rough. I didn't take pictures of that, but if you think the outside is a little rough looking, the inside is even more so. The pad that you see in the back allows them to work outside on vehicles as well. The little squares are the lifts. They could actually lift some of the bigger pieces of equipment outside if they chose to. The building's designed to take currently their biggest piece of equipment inside and lift it. Next slide. Here's how it could look. You can see the little, I'll start on the right, is the little water building, no change. The fence in between is simply gates, just to kind of give a presence that this one is closed, this is the DPW. Right now it's open, which also I believe per code, per federal regulations, I believe DPWs are not supposed to be, you could just wander in. So that's just to help kind of say, stop here. The double windows there are the office, there's the single door that lets you into the main entrance. And then, of course, the metal building, it's a prefabricated, pre-engineered metal building that you're used to seeing, would be, vertical metal siding, roof panels. We did a little architectural block at the bottom, trying to sort of mimic the block that was there, sort of tied the facilities in together. It's about 27 feet tall. There's the salt building, I'm sorry, the water building on the lower left, which has not changed. And on the right, you see it from the driveway side, which is the current building, and then the metal building behind. And next. And this is it from the back. The one large garage door to get in and out with equipment. The rest is the existing with a little link for the break area and the bathrooms on the left. And the little building, water still not changing. And below is the other sides of the elevations again, water not changing, and the left side of the building fairly simple, with just a people door and a window. And the block continues all around, partially to help it blend in, also for DPW, you want something really solid for the first 4 feet, just in case. And it keeps the panels from getting bunged up, shall we say. Next one. These are the buildings in the back. So these are all shown positioned how they would be on the site, so there's a little bit of a tight site, the buildings are fairly close together. This is on the left, it's the big one, 3-bay garage, which is basically just a big building for storing their trucks with the snow plows. And they get 3 bays in there, some storage around the perimeter, and that's about it. The other building, the brown, is salt, which is one big door and concrete walls that you push the salt into and hold it. Next.
Maybe just before we leave this slide, the blue building, is that something that's gonna be built on site? Is that like a prefab kind of, I don't know, something like an off the shelf kind of product, and how how much is gonna be heated, frankly, you know, it looks pretty amazing, but I happen to know it's a bit of a compromise, so.
Yeah, they're not exact sizes to pre-made for this and heights that we need, same for the front, we need certain heights to be able to lift those vehicles up. So those heights will be custom, so it's not like buying a Morton building off the shelf, not quite that simple. But these are companies that do pre-engineered metal buildings, so metal roofs, metal base, the concrete slabs, concrete foundations. So what we call prefab, but not exactly, we're picking option A from that company.
And will this be a conditional space or?
As far as salt, obviously not. Both the metal buildings, the one up front, building 1 and building 2, would be, what we call semi-heated. They would be unit heaters, gas fired up high to just keep the chill off of it, no air conditioning. The building up front that has offices and their break room, bathrooms, obviously heated and cooled. Here's the front of this would be, if you, it's facing Burton Avenue, but it's way in the back, of course. The garage doors, fairly high again, basically a simple structure, little canopy where their door is. And then the salt building with its very high door, concrete walls around, and it has an asphalt shingle roof. The siding on the salt building is cement hardy plank or something like that. It's a wood building because of the salt with stainless steel fasteners. And there's the other side there, or the back of the 2 buildings. And again, just very simple, simple buildings doing their job. Here are the other sides, the people door into the main building, into the 3-bay garage, and then the door into the salt building, which is a code requirement. If you go back one, Ryan, just to explain why is the salt building as high as it is, and why is the door so high? That's because when they come in with salt, it's in a dump truck, and they've got to back down this driveway, come to that building, and then they start dumping the salt, and they have to be able to lift that bed up and shake the salt out, which results in a high door. And, but that's how the system works. And then back to the same elevations, what you see stippled on the salt building is the concrete wall, again, to support the amount of salt they're going to be pushing in there. And that's it, that's our presentation, proposal for DPW. And any questions?
Thank you, Ryan. From the board, and Doug, maybe you could say a few things about, this is preliminary direction, what the next steps might be for us for council to understand, what, and the public to know when we might see something like this, what other decisions, information is still needed before we can actually make something.
Yeah, so I think our next steps are gonna give pricing based on these concepts.
Yeah.
Bob is working on the earthwork and the stormwater management. Ronnie will be working on actually the buildings that we saw, so we'll get the pricing. And then, of course, we'll put together a plan to pay for the project, and we'll come back to council and say, you approve the concept, this is what the concept's gonna cost, and we'll have a much more formal presentation, once we have some pricing and things like that. But one of the things I wanted to add is Ronnie had mentioned, right now, the public works folks are laying on the ground to do work under trucks and things like that, okay? This will bring in some lifts that they can roll, they're mobile, so they can work indoors, they can work outdoors to service our trucks. The other thing, you saw the condition of the yard where we have all the vehicles outside, okay? This will allow us to store those things indoors, which is a much nicer look for our neighbors that are down there. And it'll allow them to actually, if they know there's a storm coming, what they have to do now is leave the plows inside those wooden buildings and then come down before the storm and hook everything up. If we know there's a storm coming in these, the 3 bays is deep enough that they can put the plows on, pull them in, and then come in and roll right out. So there's a lot of issues, a lot of good things there. And then also, I just wanted to touch on, we've been very sensitive to the trees that are in the area.
Maybe go back to the site plan for a second,
Yeah.
Ryan.
And, the trees that buffer the neighbor on the one side, and there's a huge oak tree in the front. And,
So
yeah.
on that left side is what Doug's referring to. There's 2 36-inch spruce and a 40-inch oak. And sorry, do you wanna?
no, that's fine.
And
so-
we've been meeting with Bartlett tree experts, who's probably one of the country's premier tree experts. We're lucky that they're on the East Coast. So we've had them out twice, in fact. And we're awaiting their report on how best to build there, what steps we can take to protect the trees. So they are going to write up a comprehensive report, which we'll share next time.
So,
And just to add, the changing rooms, the indoor facilities, I mean, what we have now is just certainly not up to par, and you know, you've got people that are out there plowing snow at 4 o'clock in the morning, or working in all kinds of weather, doing whatever needs to be done, who serve this community in an exemplary way, I think, by all accounts, and it's really overdue to give them better facilities just to come in and take a break and have lunch and do all those things, so it's very exciting.
And also I will put in for the guys, they're happy with all those things, because they would like them, but you know what the thing they like the most? I think it might seem as a 3-bay garage or the big garage where they don't have to lay in the dirt anymore to
Right.
fix the trucks, so they are all about their equipment and keeping it working and functioning, and like Doug said, getting out quicker in a snowstorm, so.
Yeah.
They've seen this, they're very excited about it as well.
So, Ronnie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug, for.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, next item on our agenda is public comments. I'll note a couple things. First, we do have 2 ordinances with public comment. So, as we do at all of our meetings, there are 2 general opportunities to speak, but if you are looking to speak on the capital ordinance for North Landing and Eaton Place, or the adjustment for our administrator, those would be better during the public comment portion and the public hearings from those ordinances. The other ordinances we have, for example, a revised Greek trap ornament. We had delightful Christmas with a Greek trap ordinance, pardon me. The public hearings will be in July. Doesn't mean you can't make comments tonight, but there won't be a separate opportunity for that. Mayor and council will take comments first from members of the public attending in person, and then from members of the public attending online via Zoom. Speakers will be limited for the first speaker period for 5 minutes, and no immediate action can be taken from any public comment issue. If before we start, asked our attorney to make a quick statement. There's certainly some interest in a topic that came up at planning board last night. We've been doing our darndest to make sure we all understand what planning board's role is and our role here as a council. And Lisa, if you could just set the table before we start the.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been asked to make a relatively brief statement about some public comments that public concerns that were raised at last night's planning board meeting. Several members of the public attended the meeting and expressed their concern and dissatisfaction about the manner in which certain construction department matters were handled in connection with construction of a mixed-use building in the borough. And I've recommended that council not get involved in specific issues concerning orders and notices issued by the construction official. This is not to say that council shouldn't care about residents' complaints or the community's concerns. This is simply a function of how local government works. Council does not have the legal authority to direct how the construction official does their job. There are several ways to register concerns regarding a construction official's orders, including an appeal to the County Construction Board of Appeals, or as part of the land use compliance process through the planning board's professionals, such as the engineer and planner. But regardless, it's not the role of the town's elected officials to participate in or interfere with these administrative decisions. And while they may want to help, it's outside of their scope and authority. So last night, the planning board adopted a resolution memorializing its approval of a use variance needed for the project in question. After the hearing, the professionals for the board and the applicant were instructed to connect and work towards project completion. And I'm sure that everyone in this room is aligned in wanting it to be completed as efficiently and quickly as possible. None of this is to say that council won't hear your concerns during public comment, and it certainly does not mean that they don't want to see a project, business, or resident successfully complete a project, because they do. But because council cannot get involved in the specifics of these complaints, you may not get the resolution you want tonight. So as you move forward with public comment, I would just remind that everyone keep this in mind.
Thank you, Lisa. So with that, we'll start with people in front. If you'd like to speak, please come on up to the and start queuing, perhaps, so we'll have some, lots of interest, perhaps maybe we start kind of, yeah, that works, sit closer, or if we get a long line, perhaps we'll queue up along the sidewalk. You, could you introduce
Yes.
yourself and?
Good evening, my name is Paul Vita, I've been a resident in Hopewell Borough for 28 years in the same house. I actually want to talk about something today, that I think everyone agreed upon, and that is helping our small businesses thrive in the borough, especially after what happened with COVID and trying to get back to where we were and even better. And my story is a simple one. I was going to the borough meeting, and Elizabeth, the manager, letting know at the time, overheard me talking. And as soon as I said I was going to help me draw, she goes, "Oh, you're an artist." I go, "Well, I'm just an architect." And she said, "Well, we have an opening for an exhibit." I go, "I'm just a local architect." Well, next thing I know, I'm exhibiting in the borough of Beacon, my architectural work. Hence the shirt tonight. So, and why I'm bringing this up is that this is a wonderful town, and we have so many creative people in this town. And to use these resources, whether it's Chubbins or whether it's Borough Bean or the Hopewell Fair, to exhibit this and to make our town stronger. So when you have an exhibit, you invite people from other towns, from in this town, and people find out of each. I mean, this is a place where people who quilt, like let's say Rory Saprito, for example, quilting, or somebody who writes poetry can be at these venues. It's not for just some artists to come in. So I just wanted to encourage everybody to get behind getting our businesses activated again. That used to be a happening place. It used to be you had to stand up to get, that crowd. And it's not that anymore, but it needs to get back to that. So I just ask you to support making that happen, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to read this statement during open comment. My name is Tom Farmer, and my wife Jill and I own and are in the process of renovating the old lighting gallery building at 45 East Broad Street in town. We are also residents that live on Hart Avenue. My wife presented a similar statement to the planning board last night for the sole purpose of trying to get everyone who has any role in business development of this town to understand the complexity of this process. It has become apparent to us that from our numerous interactions with the zoning officer, to the planning board, to the construction office, and to the borough administration, that all of these different departments appear to work in their own silo and have little understanding of the consequences of their decisions on construction of small businesses here in our small borough. It has been almost 3 years since we purchased a shabby, dilapidated, prominent corner piece of property in the borough with the hope of fulfilling a life's dream for my wife, physician, who to have her own neurology practice, and for me to build it for her. In these 3 years, Jill has lost her mother, and I have lost my father, and we have sadly morbidly joked to one another that he should need an inheritance to fund a project in the borough, but he most certainly did. I am no stranger to lengthy renovations. As a child, my father instilled a love of carpentry and a do-it-yourself attitude when he renovated our family home over a 7-year period at night and on weekends. In my adult life, I've restored a house entirely with my own 2 hands here in the borough on Hart Avenue 2 times. The first took 4 years. Then we had a fire and lost everything. And then the redo took 3 more years. This community was awesome during that struggle. From the fire department who saved our house structure, but also took care to save its character. Local businesses brought us food, and friends and neighbors and acquaintances offered well wishes and encouragement. That's the heart of the borough, and that's why we love it here. That's the point. We're locals. That doesn't seem to carry any weight. No one from the borough administration planning board has tried to initiate a conversation or ask questions about our project on 45 East Broad. Why is this taking so long? What could we do to help? We are not hard to find around town, and you've probably all seen me on the ladder on the side of that building. We've lived here for 13 years. I've devoted 10 of those years to some sort of renovation project. I admit now that it was my own hubris to think I could tackle this. It was smaller than the house I'd already renovated, but that was our mistake. This wasn't just a house, this was a house that was also a commercial property, and that is an entirely different beast. We're not developers. I'm an engineer, my wife's a neurologist. So we're not dumb, but we're not experts in this area. Once our project became commercial, we were instructed to obtain counsel and city planner who would have the expertise we didn't possess, and so we did. From that moment, the project took a life of its own. We were advised to change our plan of an entirely commercial building, going against Jill's dream of having a multidisciplinary clinic where other tenants would be complementary to her patients' needs, such as therapists, nutritionists, acupuncturists, psychologists. But we were told the planning board would look more favorably on a mixed-use project to allow housing for Hopewell. Thus began the feeling of subservient resignation that you must anticipate the board's rejection and preemptively propose what you think might be the most easily approved to avoid conflict and stay in the good grace. While creating this proposal, we also worked with the town zoning liaison as we drew up our plans. The zoning liaison was in the possession of various forms of working plans for the summer of 2022 until we submitted for permits at the end of 2022. During this process, we were told we would not need to seek a variance as it was already declared commercial. We were also told that with our plans for the remodeling of the back building and the parking lot, that we were within allowable impervious coverage limits. Yet when we submitted for permits in December 22, we were then told we are over the impervious coverage allotment and we need to seek a variance for mixed use. And oh, by the way, you need to give the town $15,000 to hold an escrow. This oversight by the zoning office was a snowflake that has worked into the snowball of the cluster of this project. Our initial planning board meeting kept getting pushed back because our application wasn't deemed complete. Trying to speak to someone, anyone with any knowledge of the components of this mystical application in order to find out exactly which parts were still needed in order for this to be complete was a Herculean task. Not just for us, but for our attorney and our planner. When it was submitted in January, what was submitted in January was not presented before the board until June 2023, after multiple pleas with multiple false starts in between. What did this delay practically mean? Materials, subcontractors, etc., that had been lined up fell through and the process started from scratch. It meant sending out multiple mailings multiple times to everyone in a 200-yard radius of the business that cost hundreds of dollars each time to do it.
Tom, I'm not gonna interrupt you, but I just wanna gauge, we do have a 5-minute limit. If you could,
Yes,
yes.
if you want me to be
You
silent.
can have my 5 minutes.
I appreciate that.
My,
My 5 minutes.
excuse me, my question is how long, you have a written statement, how much more?
Possibly 10.
10 minutes?
Yeah, the time of 2 other residents. May I have
You
one
can
other
have one.
volunteer? Thank you.
Good morning.
Just
Can I proceed?
1 second. Just as a point of order, that is not how public comment works. We were not going to stop you from making this statement for tonight, though, so please continue.
Thank you. And then paying experts to be prepared by you present at meetings that never happened meant that the 1-year buffer Jill had set up with her prior job to make an easy transition from her own clinical practice as financially risk averse as she could was eaten up by 6 months. It meant every time we were told we needed another piece of an application, we had to scramble to find the resources we needed in the hopes that we could get it done before the next planning board meeting deadline. One thing we had to scramble to do, since this mixed-use property that has been both residential and commercial in its own lifetime, and now is officially labeled mixed use, is a stormwater management plan. Why this had to be done from scratch when it is not new construction, and everyone knows that the water table in Hopewell is very high, and everyone knows the way to address this is with a $20 PVC pipe that drains water into a sewer. Why this still had to be evaluated by a $12,000 project of getting yet another engineer to draw plans to dig a fuel dry well in one of the many expensive steps in a process that does not seem to allow for common sense. When we finally presented to the planning board in June of 2023, everyone loved us. That should have felt good, but it felt condescending and pejorative. If you loved us, why didn't you help us? Why did it take 6 months to be seen and start off us behind the 8 ball with time and expense? It was infuriating to find out that the kind volunteers that serve on the planning board had absolutely no idea of this delay or how difficult it was to get on their agenda. Our project was approved, including the building structure, ramp, and parking lot as it was in the 2023 plans. There were some usual items that needed to be addressed, which we agreed to do. We thought that hurdle was cleared. Permits were issued a month or two later. But we would come to find out almost 2 years later that we were wrong. Little did we know, a formalized acknowledgement of all that was agreed upon in that 2023 meeting was never signed or memorialized, or whatever the correct term is. We don't understand how, for over a year, this oversight wasn't picked up by anyone associated with the planning board or the construction office. We don't understand how all of the construction permits could have been issued if this piece was really incomplete. I'm in and out of the construction office constantly, seeking inspections, approval, and trying to get answers to questions. At no point did anyone notice this key point or bring it up to me. This oversight has led to a stop work order that has been irrevocably harmful to this project. And that's where we are now. We were recently seen in front of the planning board in March, seek a variance to our variance to allow for a basement apartment, which we knew we would have to do. Creating a basement apartment was an idea that blossomed as we were doing the renovation. Our excavator had to dig a full foundation instead of a half crawl space, half full foundation, due to the practicalities of excavation. That happy accident created a basement space that was spacious and lovely. I spoke to the construction officer and mentioned this idea and asked if we could build the partition walls, roughen the plumbing and the electric, since we were working with all of that for the rest of the building, but go no further until we obtained a variance and a permit. The construction officer agreed and said we could go forward as long as we put in a new application of the planning board, which is exactly what we did in parallel with the work. If it wasn't approved, they simply wouldn't give a CO for the basement apartment. It made good sense to me and to the construction officer. With that green light, we started the process to seek that new variance. It was January of 2025. We were set to be on the planning board document in February. The needed mailing had gone out, but the notice for public comment wasn't published in the paper with enough time. So we were bumped another month to March. It's only another month, they tell us. We were bumped in again in March because inadvertently an old mailing list to notify all the residents and businesses within a 200-yard radius was used as a result of one single address being incorrect. Not even the address of a local resident, but an address of a landlord of a business in the borough strip. These sort of rules and regulations tie the hands of all involved. How can we sit here and agree that most of these things fly in the face of progress, but just shrug our shoulders and say it's out of our hands? It's maddening. After being bumped from that March meeting, we were issued a full stop work order due for the basement work. But we were also not allowed to then work on any part of the building. Even the ones the planning board had already approved and that we had permits for. This stop work order was issued by the very construction officer that said we could proceed so many months before. The next part of the saga is from my understanding and perspective. If I'm wrong, then that is part of a bigger problem. Because we cannot, we being ourselves, our planner and our attorney, cannot speak to anyone easily to get questions answered about exactly what happened and why that stop work order was issued. What I best surmise is because the original approved proposal from June of 2023, with the points that were agreed upon to be addressed, was never formally memorialized. The new town engineer informed our new town administrator of this oversight and a full stop order was issued. The stop work order went into effect in March 2025. This required us to go back to the beginning, completely resubmit our application to the planning board, the land survey, stormwater management plan. At that time, concern over the angle of the front ramp, the pitch of the parking lot, and size of parking spaces suddenly came into question. At no point was an attempt made to just talk to us, to reach out to us for clarification, to work things out diplomatically. We live on Hart Avenue, not far from here. Right. We reached out numerous times to see if our engineer and the town engineer could meet and discuss things. There was no response. Our planner and attorney did the same thing, and there was little response, and sometimes none. We were told we needed a new as-built survey with elevations with new as-built plans to be drafted, even though they were the same plans that were approved in 2023, aside from the basement apartment. We still tried to have discourse with the engineer and the administrator. Our attorney and planners tried back channels. Yes, back channels in a small town. This isn't the Cuban Missile Crisis. This was a small house on the corner with a ramp that was off by a pitch of 1 degree. One. We didn't even have a straight answer if we were on the agenda for the May 2025 meeting until a day or two before the meeting. That's inexcusable. When we were finally able to present our basement apartment plans at the May of 2025 meeting, the planning board approved the variance. And after a lengthy discussion to address the ADA concerns of the ramp in the parking lot. It is important to note, we built what was on the original approved plans. When we were starting the parking lot and ramp project, I obtained another costly permit from Mercer County to cut the curb into Princeton Avenue. Multiple inspectors came out and approved it. I spoke to people in our local construction office to review the process. I attempted to speak to inspectors and administrators, but due to the part-time nature of all of those involved, I was instructed to just take pictures of the different parts of the process, and we'd have our own engineer carry out inspections, and so that's what I did. Please understand, this was also time sensitive. You can't install asphalt in the winter, and our window was closing if we didn't want to wait until spring. This approved project, inclusive of the world's most expensive asphalt, porous asphalt, and don't get me started on the fool's errand and pretend nature that is porous asphalt. If it gets dirty, it's no longer porous. There are trees all over this town. All told, the parking lot costs $35,000, and it may be the most expensive parking lot in the borough. The ADA concerns you may or may not know. Our ramp again is off by 1 degree. Our handicap parking space is about 2 degrees off. And our lawn is 2 feet short, which means we lose a parking space in order to keep the spaces 9 feet wide instead of the current 8 feet, just like the ones outside of this building that we are in right now that are 8 feet wide. We built our parking lot as was approved on the original plans. The parking lot and the ramp are completely functional and pose no safety issue, accessibility, or utility issue. Fixing these incredibly minor issues will cost us more than $15,000. But we were told it's ADA, something that is non-negotiable, but it can be amendable. If you want, you can Google what happens if my ramp is not ADA compliant. Google AI summarizes a lovely approach on how to obtain a waiver when fixing something to be in compliance if it causes undue hardship. More than $15,000 for such a small revision is something that is completely practical and functional and poses no safety or accessibility risk. Seems like undue hardship to all of us. Why was the concept of this waiver never brought up as an option of the discussion of the planning board? But again, to kowtow to the fear of non-approval, we said okay to making the changes because we just wanted to keep the project moving. And then the grand finale of May's planning board meeting. After all was approved, we asked if we could now please have the stop work order lifted. The planning board volunteers were shocked that even there was a stop work order. How could it be that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing in this small borough? The confusion of the board of what to do is exasperating. Ultimately, we were told at the end of the meeting that despite the planning board having no bearing on the work order, someone from the planning board will let the town admin and someone in the construction office know, and it should be resolved quickly. I bet you all know where I'm going with this. It's been a month and the stop work order is still in effect. No one knows why. The admin and the construction officer were out of the office for 2 weeks with no backups. So we sent emails to the construction officer, council members, and the mayor. Our attorney reached out to the town attorney asking for help and a modicum of common sense. We heard back from no one except Heidi. Thank you, Heidi, who shared in our frustration. If more back-channel communication was going on, we certainly were not made aware. Why couldn't someone simply reply, "We're working on it, get back to you soon"? Any acknowledgement would have been appreciated, but it never came. Finally, the town administrator replied to our attorney, stated they had no knowledge of what transpired at the planning board meeting, so that the stop work order could not be lifted until it was memorialized and a new set of plans would have to be submitted for the engineer to review, which our architect is now working on. We've had to resubmit plans at least 10 times for small changes and redundant things. Each time an architect redraws plans costs us $1,000. It's a lot of money. We have poured our heart, my literal blood, soul, and capital into this project, and to come up against such roadblocks at every turn. And no one seems to know that the administration builds these roadblocks With no thought on the burden bestowed on two borough citizens trying to make their life dreams come true. So why tonight? Why have I chosen to speak? Because my wife, who I'm doing all of this for, has had to put her clinical practice and dream of her office on hold and take another job. I honestly have no idea when she will be in this building. Subcontractors that we had lined up have moved on to other jobs. My own brother, who helps me regularly, had to move on to help my sister with her house. Sadly, I'll get them all back eventually. And someday there will be all the final inspections and certificate of occupancy eventually issued. But with all of this horrible prior experience, I know it will not go smoothly. So being able to give my wife and family an end date for this has been made impossible by adversity. My wife has painstakingly built a recently renowned clinical practice and a patient base in Parkinson's disease and movement disorders over 13 years. It took 2 years for this project to dismantle all her work. She has no place to see patients. She's tried telemedicine and home visits, but this has only been able to address a fraction of her patient population. And while patiently waiting for this office to open, many of her patients have ultimately moved on. She's been working at a fraction of her salary for 2 years in the hopes that her clinic would be up and running in a few months. As I always say, but we can't afford for her to do that anymore. That is why I'm here today and why Jill spoke before the planning board meeting last night. For all your checklists and all your meetings and your committees and all your lip service on how this building would be wonderful for the town made it impossible for us to build, and we are absolutely heartbroken. I hope you can hear the emotional toll of this is taken, and while soul crushing perhaps, an even more shocking number would be the financial toll. You've destroyed the continuity of my wife's practice and patient base. The financial loss to her clinical practice and lost wages, and the eventual cost of rebuilding is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Add to that, to the multiple times that we've been delayed, have to have plans redrawn, multiple copies submitted, multiple mailings completed, multiple experts paid repeatedly for their time, multiple permits and inspections repeated, and corrections required despite following what was on the approved plans. Is not conservative to say that these past 2 years have cost us $500,000 on top of what we have already budgeted to invest in this project. You see me doing all the work on 45 East Broad Street, not just because I love carpentry, but because it's all we can afford. We contemplated suing the town, but we simply can't afford to do it. I am trying to make you understand a renovation and project of this size should never have caused this much turmoil and should never have taken this long. Everyone who has witnessed our plight in real time has also tried to do something of their own in this town and has a very similar sob story to tell, from the owners of the Hopewell Inn to Chubby's, to Twine to the Borough Market. The list goes on. And we now join that list of disillusion and the disgruntled. At the planning board meeting last night, other small business owners spoke in solidarity about how difficult and expensive this process is. They expressed that there is real fear in trying to interact with the town administration. That a small question may lead to a very expensive result. It shouldn't be this hard to do the right thing. No one should be afraid to ask a question in a town this size. There should be no such bureaucracy in a one-smile small town. You are the council. You're the seat of power in this small town, and I believe you have the power to make some changes to this process, and change it you must. The planning board was kind enough to acknowledge that this is a long-standing problem, and they've heard things like this before, but the undertone of resignation that so much of it was out of their control or the borough's control was mind-numbing. I'm a carpenter and an engineer, and when I see a system that's broken, I analyze it and I fix it. This process is a system. Figure out a way to make it work better. Because whatever this is, it seems for any municipality, the process you've created is broken and needs a major overhaul. I beg you to address it with urgency. I beg you to restore our faith in the small town that we love so much. Fix it for us, for future small business owners, and for all the residents of this town who are currently afraid to ask a question. Thank you for letting me speak.
Anyone else like to speak?
Nick Ferrugia, Chubby's 14 Front Street, Luncheonette Apartment. I spoke last night too, as some of you already heard. And I just want to say, I'm really sorry this happened to the farmers, you know, I'm sorry they had to go through this. And, those of us who've gone through construction and business development know that this is not the first time these stories have happened in town. Nothing as egregious as this, I think, which is terrible, has happened. But I would love for the town, for the council, for the planning board, for all of us to somehow come up with a process, to come up with a diagram, to come up with some way for those of us who do work in town to understand how it works. Do we go to the administrator, do we go to the construction officer, do we go to the engineer? Like, how do we do it? We don't, there's no way to understand it unless somebody explains it to us. And I said last night, and I'll say today, all the processes at Chubby's, including the last one this spring with the tent and the umbrellas and all that stuff, I hired an attorney because I couldn't understand the emails I was getting from the construction guy, from the engineer guy, from the fire official, from, you know, I mean, and thankfully, Ryan, you answered a question because I couldn't even understand where to start. And I would be happy to help in any way I can if you want to convene a meeting of like, how do we do this? What do consumers want to know? I will be happy to express what my frustrations have been, what I need to be educated on, because anybody coming into this town who wants to start a business needs to start somewhere. And there's nowhere. I don't know where we start. You know, do you start with the permit, like going to talk to the, or do we start with, you know, submitting a plan? I have no idea. So I hope that somehow this can be a lesson for all of us and that we can come together and figure out a way to make this town thriving, to invite small businesses to want to develop in town. I mean, I can't imagine who would want to, after hearing that story, who's going to want to do it? I mean, I can't, if that story gets out in public, you know, which I think it will, nobody's going to want to spend time, energy, and money to build if they feel like it's a Sisyphean task. And that is a big concern, you know, we're all invested in this town, and I think we just have to come together and figure out how we do it. And we can put things aside, but I think we really have to come to the table honestly and say what works and what doesn't work, and what are the impediments and obstacles to communication and to the processes, because I think it's both communication and the lack of information, and it's not so much transparency. I think people just don't know. I don't know how to change it, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help get it changed, because we have to do something. We just can't let this happen again. So that's my few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Certainly invite anyone who's online to push the raised hand button. Not seeing any, I will take a motion to close the.
Can I just say one thing? Mr. Farmer, I don't know, did you email the entirety of council? Because I did not receive an email from you. So I could-
I just see.
I think, hold on, let's, Tom, if you come back up and address,
He did not, I
Okay.
can clarify, Tom, just so I have the email in front of me and I just checked, Ryan and Nina and I were on it as well as Bill Patterson and Doug Walker. Just like, I don't know if there was a second one that maybe went to everybody.
I know it was just
Okay,
the email release now,
okay.
but no one replied.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, it just sounded like you said like, no one on council had replied, but someone didn't receive the email, so that's what, just want to clarify that, that's all.
so I'll just say for reasons of deference and respect that we allowed you to speak in both of these evenings uninterrupted. I'm gonna continue to extend, it's a different type of respect to you, but we will not be refuting or going through line by line your comments. It's both a challenging thing to do in this forum, in this amount of time, with imperfect information. I will say, it is challenging to hear about the type of place to do business, that you speak of, here, and a lot of work by a lot of, hardworking people, both volunteers and staff, do a lot to try to create an atmosphere that is different from what you described. It is not appropriate for us in this forum to talk about the specifics of any of these projects. I don't wish it were, because I actually don't think it would be helpful to engage in that. But we do hear what you're saying. We do appreciate that, there's a desire, better outcomes and better processes, and I think you have, universal support of this community and board that we are always interested in working towards better processes. To Lynn's question, and she's borne this out, our team is available to answer questions, pre-application meetings. I've got 2 next week. There are complications, and to Lynn's other point, about these complicated processes that allow some people in certain roles in the borough to participate at different times. And if I had 6 hours to talk about how all these different processes work, I would need 600 more, because they are not simple. And I wish they were, both for our residents and our businesses, or anyone wanting to do business, not just here or anywhere. Tom, and I feel for you that this project has not ended up anywhere close to where it should have. And it is not, it is neither the role of this body, nor will I allow as the one who oversees how the discussions go, to debate who the fault that is, or to reverse engineer it at a public meeting. I will again represent, as I did last night. It is challenging for me to hear for the second time, in some respects, some of the elements, particularly about the communication, when perhaps there's been an actual different thing happening. But again, I with apologies, I don't think it behooves anyone at this forum to go through that. I know I speak for everyone here, for our administration, for the staff, for the people that are outside professionals, that they want success, and not just for people in town, people coming to town. That is essential to our well-being as a community. And there, to the extent there are opportunities to invest differently and reorganize, there's a commitment to always explore that. And the last 6 months, if not more, I wish it had borne fruit. But it's involved a lot of analysis about our processes, who does what, how often they're here. And again, to Lynn's point and to yours, communication about how to get that information and where to go can always be improved. And I feel like I'm saying that passively, but I agree with you that, that there is room for improvement in every process, but in those in particular, especially for a small town with limited resources. As I said on behalf of the planning board last night, there are, and you refer to them as silos, a series of processes, many of which are set by the state of New Jersey and the municipal land use law, whether it involves stormwater or ADA compliance, that not only are out of our town's control, but even to the extent there might be some level of control, they're certainly out of our volunteers' control. Again, my heart breaks for you and your family and where this project has gone. And again, I feel like I speak for everyone in the municipality that things that can be done will, and I don't pretend to be able to speak more specifically about that because of the nature of those processes and which ones are controlled by here or by staff. And again, I'm not, if there were to have been going point by point on this, I have to be clear for those looking to do business here. I don't necessarily agree with everything that was said here this evening. But as a neighbor and as a resident, I do not feel like this is the place to go line by line for that. And I do agree with much of what you said, Tom, and it does not behoove this evening or this discussion to figure out or find a bad guy in any one of these process or pieces that were not successful. We are here with you and for you. Mr. Mackey and I, because of the nature of the variance, could not even participate in the type of application they had. But I'll say I was pleased to see it move forward last night with a resolution. And I personally look forward to seeing your project be successful. And will continue to express my, I'll say commitment, but I cannot express the types of things that are available to me as the mayor to even do in this type of forum. So again, I want to thank you for your time, for taking the time to spell this out for us, and I believe for leaving it in a written way that'll help us understand more as well. Thank you.
Okay. A very general, very short, very general comment. I just want to say that I agree with the comment that we should look at our processes, even though I know this is beyond our scope. I very much encourage and support us to look at the processes so that this doesn't happen again. That's all.
Did we do the motion? I'll certainly take one to.
All motions,
A second? In favor? Aye. All right, next item on our agenda are the minutes from our May 1st meeting. I'll take a motion to approve those.
all motion.
Have a second.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Our next two items do have their own public comment components. First, item 11, ordinance 898. This is the second reading public hearing on the capital ordinance for Eggy. And there was some debate about whether I'm pronouncing that correctly. Close enough that I go by Eggy.
Yeah, back to you.
North Planning and Eaton Place. Ready, you could read this one myself?
An ordinance of the Borough of Hopewell authorizing as a general improvement, certain improvements to Eaton Place, Iggy Avenue, and North Landing Avenue. They're appropriating $282,500 therefore from the NJDOT fiscal year 2025 municipal aid program grant funds and capital improvement.
Doug, anything you want to add as far as explanation? This allows us to move forward with some road projects.
Yes, and we don't have to bond for any of this. The grant that we received will fully fund the project.
It's just wonderful.
I'm sorry?
Right.
Yeah.
There's no need to, that's wonderful.
Cool. It's good. We like it, yeah.
And they just completed South Landing there, right? That was it's a different project, but nice to have all these happening at the same time.
Yes. Express my appreciation. I think some work that Doug did with well, with the grant, but also with Town Gas. We had a series of projects across the town to get some roads paved out of that, resulted in one of the landing ones. So I will now open the meeting to the public for questions and comments of public hearing on this ordinance for the street paving projects. Not seeing anyone in person, anyone online, please push the raise hand button. I'm not seeing any either. With that, I will entertain a motion to close the public. For a second, all in favor? Next, I will entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 898. So moved. For a second. Krista, second. David first.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Mr. Mackey?
Yes.
Ms. Steeler?
Yes.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Item 12, ordinance 899. This is another second reading public hearing on the ordinance to correct our administrator salary. If we read this one by title, Reggie.
An ordinance of the Borough of Hopewell to provide for a one-time stipend to the Borough Administrator to correct 2024 salary underpayment.
Thank you so much. If anyone who recalls, last year, when we originally hired Doug, he was supposed to work 4 days a week. That quickly became not the case. We made thoughtful of the efforts to correct that last year. It was an administrative snafu in doing it, and this kind of finishes the correction for the amount of work that he's been doing to his salary. I will open the meeting to the public for this ordinance.
Hi, Susan, Laura, resident. I just wanted some clarification. So I feel like the first reading was quite a while ago, because I haven't been to a meeting in a while, like, it's,
Last month, I believe.
was it last
Yep.
month? Oh, God, then I guess I was there. So I know, Doug, you're transitioning out. Is that still the plan? And will the new administrator will be a 5-day-a-week position? Has it been rethought, the structure of that? And, okay, and how do we find updates on that process and timelines and things?
Well, I'll give you an update right now. So one, we have advertised, and if anyone is interested in it, the window closes tomorrow. But we received a series of resumes for potential administrators, both looking for a full-time position and then some people who are interested in a part-time position. We have said that we would entertain all types of arrangements based on the type of people that come forward. There's some opportunities for full-time administrators with perhaps other staff backup, and there are potentially some options depending on who fits best, maybe to have several part-time people. The realization that we've made throughout this process is that what we initially thought for Doug was going to be a 4-day position was a 6-day position, and the reality may be that the amount of things that need to be done, both supervising and putting together, is not, no matter what we were to pay anyone, possible for one person to really do. And as part of reviewing the applicants that are coming in, and this is all happening quite soon, we will see what the best fit is. My expectation is that, frankly, we will, if there are very qualified full-time administrators interested in full-time positions, that will likely grab one if there's one that's the right fit as we do our interviews in the next couple of weeks. If that's not the case, or there are other opportunities, we will explore them with an interest in the most flexibility and providing the services that this community needs. And as part of those discussions, we, are open to exploring whether they work or not, investments in other areas. And a lot depends on the type of applicants that come in. This is something that is not at all on the table, but sometimes have a CFO administrator. There were multiple hats. We have a CFO, and that's not something we're exploring, but depending on what comes in and who are the best fit, I think we will likely see and present a full-time administrator, maybe with more support on top of that. But if there are very qualified people that can work full-time, we may explore that too. We've advertised it as a full-time position with full understanding of what the position entails, which unfortunately the first time around was not. Bless Doug for sticking with us for this long, on his 4-day-a-week promise. But we are also open as things come in to exploring other options based on the qualities and skill set of the people that come to us. And we've received a good, 14 or 15 resumes, and there's still, again, I don't know if it's really closing, but the advertisement ends tomorrow. And it's, I'm looking forward to, with the selection and personnel committees interviewing, maybe even as early as next week, taking a look at a person or two. Anyone else on this particular matter? Either online, push the raise hand button, and not seeing any. I will take a motion to close this public hearing on ordinance 899.
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Now, Mr. Fuller,
Yes.
Ms. Hook,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Ms. Steeler?
Yes.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
So Reggie, that was just the motion to close public hearing, so
Oh,
I
I'm
think
sorry.
I'm sorry. So I will now take a motion to,
To be sure, you really.
yes. I'll take a motion now to adopt ordinance 8.
I'll do that.
I'll second.
Deb, Sherry, second.
Fighting, sorry.
Now,
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Ms. Hook? Mr. Mackey?
Yes.
Ms. Steeler?
Yes.
Ms. Weaver?
Still yes.
Ms. Williams?
yes, yes. All right, next one, which will have a public hearing likely, absent, other revelations, at least planned for the July 10th meeting, just noting again, usually the first Thursday in July is the eve of July 4th, so we plan our meeting to be the next week. But for, a greatly revised grease trap ordinance, ordinance number 900 for the first reading, Reggie, if you could read by title.
An ordinance of the Borough of Hopewell, County of Mercer, New Jersey, regarding the borough's sanitary sewer system and grease traps specifically, and amending chapter 17 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Hopewell, 1975.
I want to thank Sherry and David, and I think I'm forgetting other people, Anthony, the health department, thank you. And Doug especially on this one, if you want to do a brief, we've, over the last couple of months, we've had a lot of discussions, and, our ordinance process, we can, for those of you who, don't follow these but ultimately an ordinance, which is a change in laws or rules for, a municipality, takes 2 meetings. The first one is to tell the world that you're thinking about doing it. The next meeting is when you talk about it. And ultimately, at that hearing, we get, input and things often change. In this case, we did that for a couple of months and, got a lot of different feedback, both at the meetings, and offline. And Doug and some of the volunteers did a lot of work towards changing, what this ordinance might look like. So Doug, if you could briefly.
Yeah, to protect our sanitary sewer, we're saying that it's mandatory they have an inspection. The restaurants, anybody has a grease trap, at least once a year by a certified person. We have a contractor that can do that for us, that's certified. And the cost of the initial inspection, the borough will pay for, so it's no cost to the business owner. If in the event that the system is deemed to fail, the restaurant would be responsible for the re-inspection cost. So it's $250 for the initial, which the borough will pay for. Re-inspections are $150.
Next.
So this addresses the thing that we were struggling with, which was having a qualified person do the inspection,
Right.
which was originally gonna be done, an obligation on the part of the business
Right.
to hire a licensed plumber. And some of the feedback we heard was that could get to be very expensive, depending on the scope of that inspection. So, and Doug, you I believe, was the one who went out and found someone with the qualifications to do this. That's a reasonable price that we could do, so we're happy to absorb that cost for the first inspection, provides everybody with uniformity, with a predictable set of standards to follow, and Doug, and I'll let you explain this, but my understanding is that the person who's doing the inspections is doing more than that, they're also available to provide advice and feedback
Right.
to the businesses on how best to maintain the system and keep everything functioning. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, they're licensed collections person. So again, when they, as David mentioned, when they come in, they can look at the practices of the restaurant or facility that has a grease trap, can offer some suggestions on how they can improve things, make their grease trap function better. That's just all part of the service. And so I think it's gonna be good. I just want to thank Anthony and Sherry for all their work on this.
All right, so I see this one go forward, and I will accept a motion to introduce ordinance 900.
I move.
I'll second.
I say you guys should take it.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Mr. Mackey?
Yes.
Ms. Steeler?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Thank you. Public hearing on this will be next month at our July meeting. Item 14, ordinance 901, first reading of the ordinance which will allow us to send to the county clerk the ballot question about putting to the public in the November general election, yes or no, whether whether our voters want to sell our water system. Reggie, if you read by title.
An ordinance of the Borough of Hopewell authorizing the submission of a ballot question to the Mercer County Clerk for the next succeeding general election as to the sale of the borough's water system to New Jersey American Water Inc.
More explanation that the governing body has to take an action by ordinance to send this to the county clerk. We want to make sure we did it with enough time, that it gets there by the beginning of August, which is their deadline to get things for the ballot. And we do that, it'll be placed on the November general election ballot, which I understand is starting to get crowded, with, other questions and, gubernatorial election, as well. I'll take a motion to introduce, ordinance, 901.
Okay, I just, if you want to just add, so it's the question, but it also, in part of the ordinance, is an explanation to provide, you know, an interpretive statement that's also built into the ordinance, so that's. Right.
Yep.
Introduce.
Oh, yeah,
Motion.
and I would be glad to introduce it.
I'll second.
All right.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Mr. Mackey?
Yes.
Ms. Steeler?
Yes.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Thank you again, the public hearing and discussion, this one will be at our July meeting. Next, before we ask to pull anything out, I'll just do a couple comments on some of our consent agenda. Those who were at the planning board or watched planning board meeting last night, there was a hearing on our fair share plan. It's our affordable housing plan. It was adopted by the planning board last night. So one of our first resolutions here is to adopt the plan, and then essentially our attorney will file it actually with the court so that we can take the next steps with compliance with our affordable housing. It is up on the website. It was in the email this week, but feel free to take a look. It is a bit technical, but ultimately vetted by the planning board, and what will govern us for this next round, 10 years of our planning for affordable housing. Excited to note, resolution 71, which is our new vendor, and I see a volunteer from EDC in the back beaming. This is to award a contract to Civic Plus for a new revamped website. Couple other items here. Note at the beginning of the meeting with our update on the water system, that we are by resolution approving a debt defeasance plan. So if the community says yes to sell the water system, this is the document that the State Department of Community Affairs will review and approve to say what we do with the funds, and to get to the, you know, skirt to the end of it. It says we would pay off our debt with it. That's what the plan is. I want to thank, I hope I get this right. This is it Sherry, Krista, and Deb who worked on this? We have a resolution on a plan which will involve lots of outreach to create a kind of Halloween zone on Columbia for Halloween this year. I'm very excited to see this. It's, you know, it's the place to be for candy, probably the most candy per square foot in Mercer County, maybe second to Third Street in Pennington, but we'll run for the money. So thanks for the work on that.
Sucrose.
The plan is, you know, look, I wanted, their work was not just them, but our administrator, public safety, and police to figure out, you know, what a plan is to notify people, get people in and out, to make sure it's a safe environment, make sure our first responders can get in and out. And I'm really pleased with all the work that went into something that I think is going to be pretty neat. And I will note, I'll certainly volunteer. No one comes to my part of the town anymore on Halloween, but so if anyone wants to, you know, hand out candy with me, I'm happy to.
Our site does okay. We have candy on our site, just not.
Well, I some people, it's a better, I will say, I need to up my candy game to work. Couple other just quick notes here. A working group of municipalities in this area have been talking about regional stormwater issues for the sub watershed that we are a part of. This resolution would allow us to participate and particularly support a grant that Montgomery Township is seeking that get state funds to put a report together in consultation with the Watershed Institute for kind of a regional approach. If you recall, the borough was obligated, frankly, voluntold by the state to do our own stormwater plans. There are some regional elements in by working with our neighbors and perhaps with this grant, we can get a bit of a better regional picture. I'm also, item 79, really pleased to note, in the last year, we put our name in the hat, so to speak, in some class action litigation involving funds paid by the people who invented PFAS. It's a contaminant that's driving a lot of what people are thinking about with drinking water. This action allows us to receive the first piece of a settlement. I understand this might be one of 10 of just one of the multiple settlements they're in, but this first piece after the fees amounts to a half of a penny essentially on our property taxes. So last year, we're very proud to only increase our taxes by 2.5 cents. This doesn't mean that we're blowing that down, but in terms of the amount of money we're talking about, it's a fifth, frankly, of our tax raise. So so I'm very pleased that these funds would be used if we keep the system to make improvements, and if we sell the system, it would essentially be kept by the borough for possibly for other uses. Last one really to note, this was, thank you for council's patience, this was kind of a last addition, but in all the efforts that we make, in particular Doug makes towards cost savings and working with other communities to find other ways to spend less on our water system. The North Jersey Wastewater Cooperative Pricing System is a purchasing co-op. This actually would allow us to join it, and there's a few specific pieces of equipment that by doing this, we can purchase at a much better rate. So I really appreciate, we talk about this often, what can you do in other purchasing arrangements to do things better? This is one of them that I'm really appreciative of Doug for finding this one, and there's a David, I don't recall what the piece of equipment is, but this lets us get it at a nice price. So
The vertical turbine pipe.
rolls off the tongue. I'm just thinking, you could have borrowed mine. Right. I have an extra. No, all right. This is the booster, right? Yeah. Right. So with apologies for a long explanation for a consent agenda, there's a lot of interesting things on this this evening. I will yield if there's anything one would like to pull up for further discussion. Happy to take a motion for that now. But absent that, I would love a motion for 2025-70 through 2025-80 resolution, excuse me, 81 resolutions. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you so much.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Ms. Hook? Mr. Mackey?
Yes.
Ms. Steeler? Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Ms. Lynn?
Yes.
All right, next, I'll entertain a motion to approve claims for payment.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Who was that, I'm sorry? Me.
Sure, sir.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Mr. Mackey?
Yes.
Ms. Steeler?
Yes.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Ms. Lynn?
Yes.
Just want to very quickly, just make a couple notes with our proclamations. Obviously, here, beginning of the meeting, you saw some guests from Moms Demand Action with our proclamation regarding Wear Orange Day and Gun Violence Awareness Day. I just want to thank them again for all they do. This Saturday, two of our finest, frankly, will be receiving the awards at 11 o'clock at Woolsey Park. This next proclamation honors their, and I'll note a little bit more during our liaison reports, but we're very lucky to have amazing first responders, and it's a privilege to honor two of them this coming Saturday. The next one, there will be a field trip to Town Hall tomorrow morning. Technically, it's been, I believe, do I have this right? Do we sunshine this one?
Yes.
We did, so no action will be taken, but everyone is invited from council if you'd like to come, but a group of first graders, and I want to thank Councilwoman Weaver for organizing it here to learn about borough government, so
I think there's an acronym for approving town animal.
It's the first grader movie. Yeah.
it starts at 9.
There's public comment about there being a frog.
So one of the exercises will be a mock.
We're doing mock legislation, so basically the children are gonna be rotating through several stations here, meeting our administrative staff, meeting public works, and then they'll be coming down here to operate as members of council and the mayor. They'll get to sit on the dais, they'll get to bang the gavel, And we will review some mock legislation, which includes an ordinance that would make the official town animal the frog. From an, you know, HES of elementary schools animal mascot is Freddy the Frog. So that is why we chose a frog for this.
And we have the frog wars too.
No, that's where they got it from. So,
Is there specific species of frog or just frogs in general?
we're just doing frogs in general.
Okay.
I
Frogs are beautiful.
really can't be getting into it tomorrow when they have public comment.
Okay.
But anyway, I mean, it's a really fun exercise and I got the idea from just bringing my kids here when I had to run errands and they always wanted to come down here and sit up here and bang the gavel and they just enjoyed it so much and it just seemed like a really good way to get very young people involved in local government and learn what we do here and learn how rewarding it can be. So this is just our little fun, I mean, I think it's gonna be more fun for us than for them even, but we're just very excited about it.
Thank you, Kristen.
So those are our proclamations this month. And as a reminder, there's lots of people doing really great things in this community, in this town. If there's one that is meaningful to you, please approach us. We are really always happy to figure out ways to honor people doing great things in town. So with that, we'll move to our liaison reports. I gotta get that. It's better at not surprising people. So in some cases, Anthony, we start with you. I'll say it very slowly, if that's all right, to start with you.
Absolutely, yeah, sure. I was gonna make a joke about crowd size, but I won't mention that now.
Yeah.
So the Hopewell Borough Board of Health actually did not meet in May. They meet on a quarterly basis, but I wanted to update you on another organization that is already locally. It's the Greater Mercer Public Health Partnership, who coordinates health activities across the area. They're working on the Community Health Improvement Plan right now, and they actually have organized a community advisory board that met back in March. They've got 4 main areas that they're looking at. Those are mental and behavioral health, maternal and infant health, access to wellness, and housing and the built environment. So to help give Hopewell more visibility in that process, I actually volunteered recently to join the Access to Wellness working group. So hopefully we'll have more to report on that in the future. There are, of course, some health screenings that take place in the area. There's going to be 3 flu vaccine clinics in September in Hopewell Township and Brandon Farms, 2 in October, and then in November will be one here at Hopewell Borough Hall. I've also been asked to remind you that actually homebound vaccination services are available to Hopewell Bound residents. There are, of course, a lot of health-related events. It does feel a bit like, I don't know, 1978 reading these out in the monthly Borough Council meeting. So I think this is where having a better web presence would make a big difference. So hopefully, Civic Plus will help us and take care of that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Patty, you wanna go?
Yeah, sure. So the green team, our mailer went out in early May, and I'm sorry for bringing them, but everybody should have gotten one in their mailbox. That was funded by a Sustainable Jersey grant. And one of the things that we put in there, I want to remind everyone today on behalf of the green team, that everything bulk waste is coming up after the yard sale. And everything that goes on your curb on bulk waste that goes into that truck goes into a landfill. And so we just want to remind people that the green team does have a lot of resources on the website for ways to rehome things so that they don't go into the landfill. If you do want to put stuff on the curb, put it on the curb during the yard sale and let people pick it up then. The sooner you can get it out. And if you do put out large things and there's rain, throw a tarp over it. Because we don't want bulk waste to just be adding unnecessarily to landfill. There is stuff that really should be bulk waste. And so another green team news, we are proud to say that we are just a few pounds shy of our 1,000 pound goal collecting. So we actually have the 1,000 pounds of plastic waste, but with the last few pounds are still in our garages and donated to Wegmans. So we will soon be getting a bench. In addition to keeping 1,000 pounds out of the landfill, we will have earned a bench for the borough. I will add that while the collections are going well, some of them are dirtier than others, which does cause extra work for our volunteers. So the more people can spread the word about keeping those collections clean and dry and stretchy plastic, not crunchy plastic. That is really the key, If you can, if when you pull it, it crinkles or crunches, we don't want it, can't recycle it. And there are clear graphics on the bins and there is information on the Green Team website. We had a successful zero waste potluck, and we have coming up this Saturday morning, a compost workshop at the Mercer County Educational Gardens. That information is also on the borough website. There are still openings, and if borough residents, it is a beginning compost for beginners. But you do get a $25 coupon that you will be able to use at 3 local merchants. For sustainable gardening supplies such as native plants, composters, etc. And that is also funded by that Sustainable Jersey grant. The Open Space Committee has not met since our last meeting, so there's no reports there. The Communications Committee presented the Civic Plus. I'm very excited about that, and I will defer to the mayor for Personnel Committee updates, so thank you.
Okay, so, the rec committee, is getting ready for the, cruise night tomorrow night. I think the weather is finally going to cooperate, so we're very excited about that. A lot of, businesses are going to be offering food. There should be a lot of great cars, so. Also, there's so much going on next weekend. We've got the block party. We've got, the bulk pickup. We've got the townwide yard sale. We have a concert in front of Real Man Pizza. So it should be a really great weekend to get out and get around and enjoy our beautiful town. The building committee, I think we saw what's going on with that tonight. And then the library board met this week. And one of the things that we brought up was actually met a bunch of teenagers when I was walking around town, and they were really open to discussion, and we talked about how there's nothing to do really in town for teenagers, and so it's really challenging. And so I brought it up at the library because Barbara, our librarian, is so good at coming up with stuff, and she just emailed me actually during the meeting tonight saying that they've started a teen creative camp. That is going to be part of their programming. From June 29th to July 10th, they've got all different facets, you know, to hopefully engage a whole different range of teenagers. So I'm very excited that there's some motion on that in town. And personnel committee, I think I'll defer to you, Chip. Thanks.
Where are we now?
Sorry, I think, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm just going to order. So EDC had met with Carol Lipson from the Hopewell Valley Arts Council about their program called Art Fronts, where they find empty storefronts and they put artwork in the window, so it makes the storefront look nicer, makes the town look nicer, it might sell some artwork. It's a great idea. It's zero cost to the borough. They actually asked the thank you, landlord, to put up some funds, but they do the lighting and all different kinds of things. And so, EDC gave it a thumbs up, just asked that if possible, they feature a Hopewell Borough artist among their collection of artists. So keep an eye out for that. That should be, coming soon. We've been talking a lot about having a small business speaker series coming to businesses. Maybe how do you navigate opening a business in town could be one of our first things.
Perfect topic.
That would be, yeah. So we're working hard on that. I keep looking at Ethan because I feel like I just worked with you on all of these things. And this is sort of an announcement for council and for Doug, that there's a subcommittee that's really working on those old HBA signs to fix them up. I think the height in the post, that is more complicated than we thought. So I think the goal is to get the name plates done first and then worry about the sign. We just want them to be doing work on the town.
Yes.
And I'm saying this because I want, if anyone asks you, can we do something with those signs, say no, EDC is working on it because someone went rogue and paid someone to paint their business name on it. It's a whole thing we need to figure out, but so just know that they're gonna fix that, because it's a really cool resource that there's a whole subcommittee working.
Okay, thank you.
There's more. Fire EMT, the pancake breakfast had 576 visitors, which is great. If you didn't get to buy a pancake, feel free to send in your donation, because it pays for a lot of things. The EMT had 44 calls last month, fire department had 29. And Shade Tree Committee, our Eagle Scout planted 6 trees along East Prospect along the cemetery where there were no trees, so that's a really nice addition. And our celebration tree program is like unofficially official, we're still working out some things, but if, you know, it's graduation season, if you wanted to buy a tree to honor someone who's graduating, we'll make it happen for you, so. See us, Beth and I. We'll make it. Lunch tree.
I wanna make sure I jumped the gun last time. Okay.
So we, as everybody knows, because you've got them, we sent out the quarterly PFAS public notification letters and also the zinc orthophosphate letters. Hopefully we will actually do the zinc orthophosphate letters for much longer. I think we're actually waiting to get another set of sample results for this first half of the year. That just confirms that everything's as it should be. Well, this month we had a lot of things going on, thanks to the entire water team, professional for the work on the ballot question, the explanation, which is, it's amazing how much effort it takes to work within 500 words and try to explain something very complicated in terms that hopefully will be, well, it's not easy. It took a lot of input from everybody on council as well, which is really a great group effort, so thanks to everyone. I think our outreach meeting hopefully was a success. There were about 20 people there. I'm hoping we can get more for our next one. I think we've been talking about ways of reaching out more and just urging people to come back. It's actually our second meeting because we had an outreach meeting earlier, but I mean, that one was focused again on rates, on rate analysis, current and also historically going back 15 years. But the next one, which is on July 17th, can we say that's at 6 p.m. now, or have we officially picked the time?
I don't know if we officially, but I'm happy to admit to be earlier just to with schedules, sorry.
We expect July 17th, it's a Thursday, and that one is going to be, the basic focus of it is going to be looking at our fiscal projections of what we would have to do if we keep the system. So looking at our capital project needs, looking for financing options that we have examined, and what those implications would be in terms of our water rates. But also, and this is very important, looking at, you know, if we decide to sell the system, what would the potential implications be for the fiscal health of the borough as a whole? In other words, looking beyond just the water utility. So a lot of talk about numbers, financing, projections, and so on. You know, we tried to break this up into what we thought were manageable bits, so we kind of got the rate part. Our first return to that, because once we look at the financing of keeping the system and so on, we'll be looking at what they would do for our rates going forward. So I strongly encourage everyone to come. We've been talking about maybe sending the car down. And land there and see whatever we can do to get, you know, people.
It's not on the borough calendar yet, so I guess once
No,
you
it's
decide the
not, we
time.
were figuring out the
Yeah,
time, that was
yeah, no,
something
that-
but
that
just,
totally
you know,
makes sense.
but save
Yeah.
the date.
Yeah.
And again, a number of presentations, and then obviously lots of time for public comment and questions and discussion.
Nice.
And really happy, really grateful for the people that came to the last meeting, because I thought there was a lot of productive discussion and analysis, and it's a good way to do this, so the more the merrier, so everyone please come. I miss anything.
Oh, well, I mean, only in that the amount of work that's been done since last month is indescribable. Yes, but topic wise, not but I just have to say that the amount of work that the volunteers to my left and right and our professionals do on a regular basis is amazing, but in this last month, I have to say, I'm just blown away by the amount of work that you guys have done, just the hours, and I'm just appreciative. And again, that report, which was relatively short, does not do justice enough time put into those tasks, so thank you.
And by the way, I forgot to thank you, Lisa, because you were at the center of all of this as well. And
Just a scrivener.
Oh, no, believe me, very important, and thank you.
Kristen,
Oh, yeah, just back to the field trip real quick. It turns out that organizing a field trip for like 71st graders is kind of a lot of work. So
Who knew?
I really want to thank Ms. Pontani for being our contact at Hopewell Elementary School and helping make this happen, and also Reggie and Doug. I know you guys are super busy, and I just really appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to do this with us. Also Alan from Public Works, and of course Ryan, Deb, and Sherry for helping organize this as well and giving me another set of eyes on all the documents that are involved in this somehow. Really appreciate that.
don't forget, you were able to get the police department to come.
Oh, and the police as well. Oh my goodness, yeah, I'm already forgetting people. The police come and help the kids cross the road and tell them a little bit about their relationship to us here in the borough and they do here. Transportation wise, we are waiting on the materials for the demonstration project. They have been ordered, so they should be here soon. Apparently, they have been marked out on North Greenwood Avenue, so we're making progress as soon as it's through. So here we'll have a date for implementation, right, Doug?
I'm sorry?
Once we get the materials here, we'll set a date for
Oh, yes,
implementation.
yes, yeah.
So that'll be fun, and we'll get to use Ryan's giant scissors to do a ribbon cutting, if you'll allow us for that.
They are always in the back of my car for any business.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Related
You
emergency.
could have a first aid kit, a blanket, and a giant pair of scissors.
Well, I'll say they're very sharp, so I do need a first aid kit. They're real scissors.
I was fortunate to attend the Mercer in Motion conference last week, which was basically a conference for transportation professionals in Mercer County. Got to see some of our friends from Mercer County and meet some other folks from within the county and outside the county, get to learn what other people are doing in their municipalities, traffic calming, ride shares, things like that. So a lot of fun and interesting information there. And lastly, I bought a surprise flag, so we're gonna raise a pride flag at some point,
So
right?
we talk about organizing
It's
sorry,
probably fun.
so perhaps we'll.
We don't have a
we
flag,
did
so now we
Yeah,
go.
Just we did our proclamation for June last month in anticipation. We have realized Chris Rose, we've not done one, so I'm happy to participate and organize it so we can offline, pick a date and at a time.
Yeah, we'll get the word out.
All right, thank you. Couple things from me. The borough has been asked to participate, I guess next year, the World Cup will be coming to the United States and on the 11th. There is an interesting, and I'm not sure if I know how it relates to us, but a program that Mercer County is trying to get some traction on to light up monuments and businesses. If there's any interest, I can get the information to anyone. We are talking a lot of things. One, for us to light up in town, and two, we are very actively working on a dark sky program. So I don't know how, but I told them I'd pass them along, and I'm happy to be the contact. If you've got a property or monument that you'd like to light up and participate, I'm happy to get you the information. We talked about the PFAS litigation. I'm just really thankful to both David's involved with water and our professionals in getting our foot in the door. It could be a couple of $100,000 maybe that comes our way eventually. July, there had been scheduled a mid-month planning, in June, there had been scheduled a mid-month second planning board meeting. It will be canceled, it'll be up on the website, but there will not be second meetings for any of our bodies in June. At a July planning board meeting, there is likely a presentation from the DNR Greenway about an open space parcel that they are working on, and which I imagine has been talked about, at least on the township's aspect, at the open space committee. If not, I'll bring you up to speed. Heidi, talk about the joint project with the watershed grant. I want to shout out to and Timberlake Middle School, and all the volunteers that participated in just an absolutely, amazing and moving, program, to install, first to study, and then install, another witness stone, in Hopewell Borough, honoring, a, enslaved Hopewell, resident. There's one already, from a installation 2 years ago in front of the, Baptist Meeting House. The second one will be installed in that area, and when it's done, I'll try to announce it so people can go see it, but I'm really blown away by the work that our 8th grade students have done. Particularly, there was an 8th grader, borough resident, who shared, her research this morning. It was quite moving, and the work that they've done, to educate us, as the adults about this piece of our history, and not only learning about it, teaching it to us, but then creating a permanent installation so that future generations, can see and understand what happened here and these parts of our history. I'm very thankful to the district, and the students for doing it. I guess I hinted before, but continued progress on our administrator position. Hoping they get the last set of resumes tomorrow, to circulate to, everyone, and there's likely, gonna be an email from me and or Tom to start scheduling, some preliminary, interviews, maybe even as early as next week. So I'm, thankful that we'll have some things to look at there. Continued progress on, the vacant buildings in town. I want to thank, both EDC and the Arts Council for their, piece of that puzzle, without being specific about any particular buildings. Just want to remind everyone, if there are problems with the maintenance of a property, please bring them to the town's attention. It is very helpful for us to have files on these projects when we come to take action or do something. I'm very hopeful that one particular building will be, changing, form and hands, soon. My hope is that some of the other problem children, as far as buildings go, I've got a meeting with the owner of one of them, next week, that we can get some traction on some of these properties. I want to thank, the organizers of the annual, Hopewell Borough Memorial Day Parade and the Hopewell Fire Department for another amazing, event. It is a very long-running, tradition, that we all enjoy in town, and I just want to thank, Julie and Ali, in particular from the Hopewell Fire Department for their work with that. And finally, next week, mayor's office hours for me here Wednesday from 1 to 2. And then Saturday, it's the second Saturday month, it's the 14th, it'll be very busy Saturday in town. So weather permitting, and I'm not in charge of the weather, I cannot stress that enough. If it's good, there'll be an announcement, you might find Doug and myself in a tent on Broad Street. So if we can take it out to the people, to the streets, yes, as we, particularly it's our yard sale weekend, a lot of people in town, I want to make it, just a different way to interact. So looking very much forward to that. Doug, from your administrative report, you want to highlight?
Yeah, I'll be brief. We started we putting to work our 3rd grant for the railroad station, so that work's underway. So while we're working on the 1st floor, the railroad station will be open for rentals, 7 days a week. Once we get to the 2nd floor, we have all the scaffolding and things like that. It'll be closed during the week, but open on weekends. So we're trying to minimize the impact to the folks that use it for their programs. We talked about the public works facility, and that's just a great project, for our folks. And thank you, Ronnie, for being here tonight. Hart Avenue, that's winding down. What we've decided to do, the concrete work is done. What we've decided to do is hold off, until school closes to do the paving. It's only about 3 weeks, so we thought that made the most sense. We've had a lot of calls that we've accommodated to get gas, to the residents on that street after the fact. So our contractor that's actually doing the work, has been very, very accommodating. And so we've actually been able to get gas to about 7 folks that didn't have it. We're gonna be doing, I have to get the particulars, we're gonna be doing some more, next week, so, but I'll get you the particulars. Elizabethtown Gas has completed the installation of the mains, and now they're working on the service lines, and they're doing that by appointment. So they're actually knocking on doors and saying, we'd like to come, blah, 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 so the folks know what's going on. So we don't have a firm schedule of where they're gonna be on what day, because they're doing it by appointment, so, you know, they're just not running down the street. So it's kind of a hodgepodge, but it's more convenient in that way for our residents. But you will see some unannounced street closures on some of the side roads.
Center Street now has a sandbox in the middle of it. They've dug like 4 tons of sand on Center Street to do the rest of the
To
work.
go around.
Oh,
Yeah, they have to put bedding around the pump.
Yeah.
You know, just to mention, so about Hard Avenue, because I know that was one of the sections of town where a lot of people haven't had gas service until relatively recently, some do, some don't.
Yeah.
But, for those who might be interested in having emergency generators, gas fire is definitely the way to go. Somebody talking about resiliency just on a local level for people, particularly with the storm winter issues that people have up there, and some pumps and so on. That's just a benefit that occurs.
Sure.
Good to have.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Does the borough own any road signs that say like local traffic okay, or businesses open during construction that we could put out? Or give it, or can we request that the contractor put those things out?
Yeah, the contractors have the signs that say open local traffic, so on and so forth.
Businesses open, yeah.
Yeah, we don't have anything that says business, but we can order our own. I think to ask the contractor to put businesses open, we can ask them to do it.
Or even just local traffic allowed, because.
Well, that's not
I
a
think
mark.
businesses open.
Yeah, we
would be a
have
good-
local
Good
traffic
expense
signs.
for us to just have that for,
Open the local traffic, or
That's
close
cool.
the through traffic.
Or-
So,
I like including local businesses open, because if
Yeah,
you see
yeah.
local traffic only, you might be, oh, it's just residents. Businesses open means,
Yeah.
oh, that restaurant that I was headed down to there is actually open.
yeah, what we can do is, cause we have to. We have to agree on the signs that are gonna be put out when we do big road projects. So we do that. You
Just
know,
like our
with the-
engineer Bob would put like a package together of what we're looking for, basically.
And the contractor is responsible for having the signs made, okay? On the smaller jobs, you know, like something like this where they're, you know, just doing one-offs, they may not have that, but I can ask. But what we can do is we can order a few that keep in our public works. You know, and then we can put them up if it's impacting that, if it's a small job that, you know, we're not gonna ask the contractor to buy a sign for
Right.
a 4-hour job.
Yeah, this is part of something that EDC is putting up, like a road closure alert suggestion. So before you order anything. I'll make sure
Yeah. Yeah.
that there's suggestions.
To that end, I'll note that on our website, there is a page / roads, actually, that does list everything that we know about and construction projects, so.
That's great. Alright, can I say one more thing?
No.
Yes.
This is not good. Will you please thank Alan and Mark for the flags? I've had
Yeah.
multiple residents, including a friend from DC who drove in, she was like, I don't know how you guys did that, but you know, as soon as I hit the town, and I saw these flags, she said it was just remarkable, and I know that that took days, so
85 flags.
please make sure you, that is, they know how appreciated.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next I'll open the meeting to the public for our last public comment section. This one we would like to limit the first one to 5 minutes. This one to 3 minutes. In person, please come up to the front. If you're online, please push the raise hand button. I'm not seeing any. I will take a motion to close the second public portion. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting. Wait a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, thank you everyone and for everyone watching at home. Good night.